Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to game number 3 of our semifinal match to see who will face off against the Leftovers, which, of course, is Badge's new squad in the finals here. And just to give you a little refresher, Kevin did before the break, but essentially, there's a couple of contests that will eventually face these players into the SPL. So all of these players are hoping to be the next big name on the block when it comes to the Smite Pro League. We're here in phase number 1. There's a lot of Smite to be played, but that's what's on the line. Game number 3.
Game number 3. And I do want to apologize, by the way, because I said Dignitas has to fight for relegation. They were actually 6th place, so they are already in the SPL. Apologize for that. It is Justice and Myrmidons over in Europe that are going to have to fight for the SPL slots. But game 3, and so far, a very contentious game, especially that game 2, right? Game 1 was pretty one-sided, I would say, towards Epiphany, but this second game, 50 minutes of back and forth action from both squads. And honestly, based on the team fights we've seen so far, either of these teams could come out on top. As long as they ban Robin. Because if you let Robin through, it's done.
As long as they ban Robin, sure.
That actually, I think, is why Game 1 was so one-sided. Because if you looked at the fights early to mid-game when the Robin wasn't a big factor, they were back and forth. But the second the Robin came online, he was just so much more efficient.
I mean, the Robin and Envo Clan certainly took that note. And the Robin definitely impacted the game a little bit. But Envo Clan, they have just been surprising is the wrong word. They have just been impressing me time and time again. The first game that we got the opportunity to commentate was the round of 16. We opened up today's broadcast with Envo Clan as Athena starts things off on the side of Epiphany Bolt. And really, they just won in dominant fashion, and they looked very clean. We mentioned that during the last game. And this game, they didn't look clean, but they were able to fight down 10,000, which is so important.
They still fought together, which is... It's the staple, right? Yeah. It's better to have 5 players doing the wrong call than 2 players doing the right call and 3 players not following up. Like, it's so much more efficient when you work as a team. And so far, Envo have done that. They're going to draft the Hun, Batz, and Chiron. So Envo looking for that lane control.
Epiphany Bolt on the other side. They're going to go with Isis and take that lane control into the mid lane. Few gods, if any, can deal with the push from Isis in the mid lane. And Bellona is going to be selected. Honestly, though, Isis... What god outclears her in the mid lane?
No one. Early on, no one. There's actually no one
There's
outside.
one god that outclears her in the mid lane.
There's who?
Chalk. Moving on to the third pick up for Envo.
He does not outclear her.
Oh, he throws an axe and he gets the clear.
I mean, having like old hog and like hogging all the creeps outclears her.
Red Pot Chalk can do work in the mid lane.
If they play Chalk, they're playing to lose. That's all I'm saying. In the mid lane, at least.
Well, Geb's going to be selected for Envo Clan here alongside the Chiron. And this is, I mean, the Geb for Envo Clan has been absolutely fantastic. Callus has been able to provide shields from over the wall, through the woods, like wherever you need a Geb shield, Geb shows up.
It's called the jungle and Smite, not the woods.
I call it the forest, actually.
Ban's coming through, though. All right. Epiphany Bolt, ban away the Adanas. We'll have to see if they choose to take away the Nox, which they did last time, or take away the Poseidon. And they will go with the Nox, a god with heavy control that they don't want to deal with, especially as an Isis player. Is Nox and Agni do very well against her. The Agni can stun out her Wing Gust, and the Nox can literally just throw the Siphon Darkness on the ground. If the Isis is in it, she gets silenced.
And one of the problems that Epiphany Bolt, or that Envo Clan has, was that Poseidon. The Poseidon JustJack didn't really play fantastically in the earlier mid-game. Later on in the game, once 6 items came online,
his positioning wasn't the positioning he should have had. He was getting out. Like, it's understandable when you have a Khepri that maybe you can be a little bit more aggressive, but the Khepri didn't seem to have the synergy with the Poseidon, and a lot of times other players were getting poked out, and I think the Poseidon fixed that later in the game, but we'll have to see how it works for this one.
Which is interesting, because I think Epiphany Bolt understand. They're like, okay, JustJack is a fantastic player, but his positioning has a little bit left to be desired. We mentioned actually during the Agni game as a positive how JustJack found himself in the middle.
Much better spacing.
Yeah, but so it's sort of the same spacing, it just the flame wave isn't there to be taken advantage of, right? And there's no dash. Well, look at the mages that Epiphany Bolt take off the table. Giannis can literally walk through walls, and Nox can literally jump onto a teammate. So what does Epiphany Bolt do? They take away the gods that have escapes. and they leave Envo Clan with only the Agni choice. The Agni is the way that Envo Clan is going to go. Last time we saw Envo Clan play the Agni was totally fine. So Epiphany Bolt take a couple of mages with some escapes off and leave them with Agni, the less bursty of the 3 gods that have these escapes if you take a look at the screen. So Envo Clan, it's up to them and JustJack to provide the burst damage while still staying safe in the early and mid game on this Agni.
Ice is going to wing gust a little bit closer, and Epiphany Bolt going to ward up the mid camps. These have been a point in contention in all of Envo Clan's games. They really like to take that double mid camp start. Epiphany Bolt, though, they recognize that now, and they're going to make sure basically that Envo Clan can't free ward, it seems. She doesn't even have a ward of her own. She just immediately pings out where that ward is. Do they have a sentry? All right, no one has a sentry. I was about to say.
Yeah, so it's the information about the information. If you understand that there's a ward in that spot, you know exactly how much info you're giving to your enemy, Envo Clan. So Epiphany Bolt able to play around this ward should they feel like it, or play on top of it if they don't. So there's a couple of options now that Epiphany Bolt are aware of where Envo Clan has dropped the ward.
And now it's Epiphany Bolt actually setting up for the double mid-camp start there. They have the Neith, they have the Isis. I mean, there's a lot of early game aggression. Fenrir as well, and this is a smart choice for Epiphany. They recognize the start that Envo Clan does actually gets them ahead, and instead they have this very early game composition that they're going to be able to just dominate with. And honestly, they might be looking... No, they're setting up
Red
for
buff invade. Here comes JoJo on the Neith. He's going to be able to Spirit Arrow if he feels like it. Everybody from Envo Clan walks away, and the invade seems to be relatively successful.
That was an awkward invade. I feel like they could have done a better job, and honestly, this now is going to be a pretty heavily contested buff. It's on one hit, and Geb's just going to finish it. Epiphany Bolt made a massive mistake there. Instead of trying to loop around and kind of catch people in corners, they kind of just walk out and say, hey, I'm there. They also didn't walk together, right? The Neith, if anyone, should have led with the Isis following up and the Athena just kind of being there in the area. Instead, now, DeathPanter takes a lot of poke from the mid camps. They already lose lane control. They're both level 1. They can't even walk into this. Oh, man. Honestly, if Envo Clan had been aggressive there and pinched them on that rotation, that would have been a kill.
Well, I mean, so Epiphany Bolt, they actually successfully invade on the red buff, but define success.
No, they got it. Did they? No, they got it stolen away, I thought.
No, they stole the red buff.
Oh, never mind. I'm blind. I thought Geb picked it up the whole time.
So they stole the red buff, but the lane situation is a much different situation. They actually got to lane a little bit late.
And you could already see a 260 gold lead for Epiphany Bolt and a slight experience lead. Now they're going to grab their own red buff. I'd like to see this go to Fenrir, actually, considering the Isis already has hers. Obviously, it's only going to increase it by like 20 seconds. That's okay. I guess they want the Isis to make sure to have that power spike about 20-30 seconds more.
No, I actually really agree, and that's one of the fun things for me about this Season 3 is in Season 2, speed buff goes to jungle, red buff goes to mid, blue buff goes to solo, and purple buff goes to hunter. If you do anything different, you're probably pissing somebody off, right? Here, it's a little bit more fluid. The red buff traditionally goes to the mid laner, but sometimes during the mid game, you want to give it over to your jungler. Occasionally, you even shove it onto a hunter. So having that flexibility is important, and I think Epiphany Bolt, I mean, they didn't drop the ball. That sounds like a very, heavy-handed statement, but I would have liked to see that on Fenrir as well.
Geb getting poked out here. This Neith and Athena doing a good job of controlling lane. A very early rotation coming out from iSilenced. I don't know if he was setting up for a gank, but at the very least will split about a creep or two of experience and then go and grab the fire elementals. And this will get him level 5, and he actually has a pretty interesting option here. Oh, okay, going to go to mid lane. He actually could have, that would have been a really smart choice if you had to grab those fire imps, hit level 5, and then he could have either ganked mid or solo, depending on who is out of position. Taunt going to miss, though, in the mid lane, and Hunbat's going to jump away as well.
These minions should, there it is, level 5 onto the dog, so be wary of that Ragnarok, Envo Clan. One of the big things that Fenrir has in his camp is, again, the change to Purification. 160 seconds on that cooldown means that Fenrir just becomes even more potent with not just the stun, but the ultimate.
I want to see Epiphany Bolt take use of it early, right? Because they basically have very similar to what Poppy's drafted.
Okay.
Is that they have a lot of pressure in lanes, and they also have heavy pick potential, right? They have the Fenrir, they have the Neith, they have the Athena. Rotate into Envo Clan's jungle and find anyone out of position. and just engage on them. Even if you know they have Purification up, force it out, because you have so many stuns across the board that at one point, if you can burn that in the next 160 seconds, someone's going to get out of position and have the ability or the potential to get picked off.
And that's exactly what we're seeing out of Epiphany Bolt. They're walking into their opponent's jungle, taking out the back camps, and I mean, that first invade, whether that first invade was perfect or not is, you know, sure, they actually successfully get the red buff, but they don't make it to lane in time, etc., etc. But more importantly, they followed up. The red buff, as soon as it spawns, gets invaded on a second time. So that's 2 red buffs that Envo Clan has not been able to claim for their own.
I really want to see some gank come out here. Fenrir just took a trip back to the base, finished off his Boots 3. It's a pretty big power spike for him. I'd like to see him make some rotation. I think picking off the Geb is the best choice.
Okay.
The Geb, just so many things to interrupt, and it's very easy to kill these supports early on, especially considering they almost always are going into this utility build where they go into the CDR boots and then into the breastplate, which has no health on it.
Which I do like the pickup of Shell to sort of counteract that. Everybody knows, or maybe not everybody, but that's sort of the thought process is these supports are tanky. They're the targets that people are looking at. But with that Shell, you can sort of counteract that a little bit. Shell is still so powerful.
iSilenced, and this Ice is grouped up in the middle lane, looking to put on some pressure, find anyone. On the right-hand side, no numbers actually winning out in the trade here. You can see Bellona on very low mana, which means Sobek just got a bunch of free poke on her. And so far, Sobek doing a good job of fighting into this lane. Nice interrupt, and honestly, now this Bellona's in a bad spot. If that had connected, 100% the Bellona dies because she's forced to Eagles rally out, and then you just see exactly what you're seeing now. And yeah, if that was a kill if that pluck connected. Unfortunate for no numbers.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Unfortunately for the solo laner on Envo Clan, unable to really claim that kill.
This is
but he's killing it in player damage. As we can see from that almost kill. Here's the rotation from Fenrir over to the long lane. Stun and damage! And that's going to be a dead Hayzer. He's definitely not going to be able to find a kill here.
Bellona has actually rotated in as well, teleports through, and this is going to be a gold tier. I love this decision from Epiphany Bolt. Their objective control all 3 games has been phenomenal. Once again, another Gold Fury centered around this Isis pick.
We asked for this earlier in the broadcast for the early solo lane rotations, but a little bit of damage onto the support might be some trouble. Here comes Fenrir walking right into the enemy, but Aiurz is able to secure the kill onto Callus. Here's the damage from no numbers, and the Fenrir able to find his way out as well.
He has no ultimate, but the Athena charging down, looking for the taunt, no dash up for another second. Is the burst going to be there? He's going to heal up a little bit. Wing Gust not connecting, Spirit Bolt won't either. And no numbers successfully escapes that attempt. But no Gold Fury started in. Envo Clan has done a nice job of making sure that they can't secure that objective.
So that Bellona teleport early, we asked for that earlier in the broadcast. We want to see these teams commit to these early teleports over the left side because with gold no longer a factor on these active or relics as we call them now, you can afford to make those swaps. Well, we saw it, but so did Sobek. He made the rotation as well, and it winds up being a wash. Both solo laners lose a little bit of farm because of that rotation, and we'll see everybody wind up around level 8 and level 9.
You know, my favorite part of that was the fact that you look at the teleport cooldowns, 89 seconds coming out for Bellona, 35 for Sobek, which means the Bellona baited out or no numbers had used his teleport, and then as a team, Epiphany Bolt decided to teleport over their soul laner, knowing that Sobek could not match the rotation. He comes in the end, but he was a little bit slower. And Epiphany Bolt, it was a nice try. They got a slight lead off of it, not the biggest one they were looking for with the Gold Fury, but still, very intelligent play coming out from them. This Fenrir, he's looking for Geb. He's waiting around the corner. Ultimate is available here. He knows he has no wards on him, and there it is, the jump forward. There's Ragnarok, Geb shield in place, and the follow-up with the Neith ult and the Isis, but there's the Cataclysm. And unfortunately for them, the Geb was in a much better position. He's going to live with 1 health for now. DeathPanter will secure it, but it's the Hunbat's doing so much damage in the back line, and Isis going to be forced away from this one, and the question is, can Athena get out in time? Yes, doesn't look like Envo Clan will chase her down.
And again, Athena might have died if that pluck hit. Unfortunately,
that's the 3rd missed pluck by no numbers. That all would have resulted in a kill.
Yeah, so
all 3 missed plucks.
These charge praise are just not landing for no numbers. Hopefully, it's just hopefully for him and his squad, it's just an early game thing. And as he warms up on the Sobek, he'll get his accuracy up a little bit. But right now, I mean, we could have been looking at a 4-0-0 Sobek at the moment if those charge praise were a little bit more on the money.
3-1 on the board for now, though. About a 2,000 gold lead for Epiphany Bolt.
Oh, wow.
And
that's a lot.
I really like the strategy they've been employing. DeathPanter now going to silence out Gab, and now Kalish coming off of death. Going to be saved by the Agni. A very aggressive dash by JustJack. And Deathwalker actually misses an overhand smash on a point-blank target.
Beautifully played by the Fenrir.
And I'm like 120 degrees wide.
I'm going to defend Deathwalker right there. That was iSilenced just being crafty. He walks underneath the Hun Batz to avoid the overhand smash, jumps out of the damage from the Agni. iSilenced is alive because of iSilenced. There was a couple of missed abilities, but I think we call them dodged, not missed.
Oh, there's no numbers finding the pluck, but actually puts Aiurz away from him, and the Athena ult's coming down, and unfortunately for no numbers, he falls there. But the main point for me is the fact that that is multiple missed kills by Envo Clan off of just missing abilities. It's not once, it's not twice, it's been 5 or 6 times, unfortunately for them. You can see Envo Clan going to try and start up the Gold Fury with Athena ulting over to the right-hand side, but not going to be there.
So much vision as well coming out from Envo Clan. Do you see this minimap? There's so many wards.
Envo Clan making sure that they don't get picked off, and I like this because Epiphany Bolt, they have this composition where it's find a player out of position, blow them up. We have the double global duo lane. We have the Isis, which has a lot of pressure and early lockdown, and they also have Ragnarok coming out from the Fenrir, which is the biggest I'm going to pick you off ability in the game. Now Epiphany Bolt, they're going to be starting this up. Isis Ult dropped in.
It's already dead.
And no one from Envo can even get close to it. No numbers, teleports into the back line though.
Damage coming out from Fenrir on the right-hand side. Going to chase out Agni, silenced by himself, but here comes Axioz trying to do it from the solo lane, but unable to really find anything of consequence. No numbers, gets saved by JustJack as iSilenced is taken out and Athena Weevil spreads Epiphany Bolt all over the mid lane. Axioz is the only one still up front pushing on the tower, and Envo Clan, thanks to a fantastic ultimate by Deathwalker, lives to see another day.
Epiphany Bolt find the Gold Fury, but do lose 2 in the process, trying to catch a couple players out of position. And yeah, just Envo Clan, you know, they had 2 or 3, actually 3 or 4 members, all below 30% health. Unfortunately for Epiphany Bolt, they couldn't lock it down. 3,000 gold lead for them right now, 3,400 experience, and a lot of that lead is once again in this duo lane.
You know, part of me is wondering if Envo Clan should have gotten rid of Aiurz's Isis, because this Isis has just been so important for these wins in all of the 3 games we've gotten to see them play. You're right.
It's the early objective control. Epiphany Bolt know how to run their composition, it seems, every single game. Dash in. Taunt not going to connect. Deathwalker runs away from that one, and he has his purification up, and I'm a little bit surprised he's trying to fight into this. He has no mana, no ultimate available, but there it is under the tower. The Agni's rotated in. Isis going to be forced back, and DeathPanter just kind of being circled by 3, and here comes iSilenced. Doesn't want to keep up the fight, though.
With the Gib Shield already down, I think that might have been a strong fight, but risk versus reward. You're already up 4,000 gold at 12 minutes. I don't think you really need to get played by your own lead, so iSilenced plays it a little close to the chest and safe rather than sorry.
1, 2, and 2 so far. He's done a good job of really getting into this front line, but unfortunately for him, I mean, the Agni, JustJack, the second he sees Fenrir pick someone up in Ragnarok, just dumps all his bombs, as much damage as he can. You can see it in that mid lane in one of the earlier engagements where no numbers gets picked up a little bit out of position, and just 3 bombs come raining down, and iSilenced before the Ragnarok even officially ends, he dies.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's the proper response coming out from JustJack, and that's what we've seen so far for Envo Clan is that they've been able to respond super well. I really like how they have been able to sort of like not just counter engage, but also just come back with a vengeance when Epiphany Bolt make a play.
Do more, but 50 stacks on this Isis, although the Agni finishes a little bit later. Looks like he elected to go into boots first, just starting to stack it up. No numbers, going to avoid the Spirit Ball here, and it looks like he's going to be fine. Actually, someone intercepted the Neith ult in the mid lane, and there is DeathPanter in a real bad spot. I think he's the one who intercepted it, and Envo Clan turn on him. Neith backflip, but there's Deathwalker trying to chase down the Neith. Sprint pops, and he'll be able to get away from that one for now. Gold Theory not there to try and go on after that pick, but look at this. This Fenrir rotating over.
You've got not just 1 but 2 players, both Isis and Fenrir. Fenrir is going to confer the kill onto Hayzer thanks to the ultimate. onto the Geb. More damage coming out as No Numbers is trying to do what he can to save the life of the Geb, but it's not going to happen. Callus found his third death of the game.
iSilenced there doing a little bit of old school shake and bake where he takes the player he grabbed in his mouth and he just kind of spins him in a circle so none of his team can hit him. It used to work with New Wall Alt though.
Yeah,
old New Wall Alt.
And
where
you know
just
what?
like, you'd pop up the 4 pillars and just like run him in between the damage repeatedly.
You know what? It's disorienting though. You ever been on one of those like carnival rides like Tilt-A-Whirl or
Oh
something?
yeah, you just go.
Like it's just always a bad decision. That's what the Fenrir is doing. He's
Come on, man, just hold me still.
Just shaking the camera. The poor guy in the mouth actually gets motion sickness. Can't control anything.
I think that was the strategy there. I'm just gonna make sure that Kalis just like gets dizzy here. No Numbers caught out, and he's actually gonna get circled on, surrounded by full. Look at that, perfect body blocks. Even if he got his pluck off, it would he would have been locked in place.
Ridiculous. So many numbers on top of that. Sobek 1, 3, and 2 as the solo laner finds his third death of the young contest. Only 14 minutes in. I mean, Kevin, Epiphany Bolt right now we're playing like there's 40 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, I do like Envo's comp the later this game goes, but so
Are we gonna
far
get there?
Epiphany Bolt they're not going to try. There's the blink in, a 2-man taunt, and here's the follow-up from iSilenced. JustJack going to barely be able to get out of this one, and Chiron on one hit. Silence takes him out here, and now just a general disengage. It looks from Epiphany Bolt because there's still a tier 1 tower in mid.
Deathwalker with the fantastic Fear No Evil takes Epiphany Bolt's plans of aggression and puts them back into the file cabinet. Unable to really even get that tier 1 is the blue squad, so they're just going to retreat. They're still up 3 kills and 5,000 gold, which is a large amount.
I like what this Fenrir has built into. He's gone into Bulwark of Hope after his Jotun's Wrath, and that's because he recognizes he's been getting bursted, especially by JustJack, because he has been the primary frontliner. Axioz on this Bellona, not so much. DeathPanter kind of taunts and then backs off and then goes to play a defensive role, and, iSilenced is taking a lot of damage. I don't think we have a damage taken chart, but he's got to be up there. So going into that Bulwark of Hope, making sure he stays alive, because his main objective right now is to hit his base abilities, which do a lot of damage, find the stun, and then use Ragnarok and get someone out of place.
So where does he go from here? Do you want to see more defense, more CDR, more power even?
I think he has a lot of options. I think once he has enough gold, he can decide what's going on, right? Does he feel tanky enough? Is he getting just bursted or annihilated, or does he need to continue into this kind of tanky defensive build? Maybe looking at getting utility, maybe a Magi's Blessing in 4th slot. I think that'd be a pretty good idea.
Magi's Blessing, not a poor idea. I actually want a hybrid item because a lot of the damage coming out for this team is out of the Fenrir. I would actually like to see a Void Shield.
Void Shield could work. But
we've discussed this item, and it's gotten a little bit of a change. It's penetration, it's protections, and it's power. I think it really works well for these warrior assassins like Thor or Fenrir.
I like it, but more like in a 5th or 6th slot for this Fenrir. Because right now, the only one he has to worry about for physical damage is the Hun Batz and the Chiron. And the Chiron's just not focusing down the Fenrir at this moment, so you're really only getting the benefit from the Hun Batz burst. And
yeah, I'm with you.
It's a lot of gold to invest into that item. I think Magi's or a different defensive item would be better here. Although it will be good, especially considering it lowers the physical protections, which means it will increase the Bellona's damage as well. But, at this moment in the game, I don't think it's the best.
I think I'm with you there. Where you take a look, building Mace, so likely to go into a Titan's Bane, possibly. Now, here's the thing. If that Mace gets built into a Brawler's Beatstick, I'm going to wish it was a Void Shield.
Maybe.
There's the ultimate coming out from the big pooch, and the stun is actually just a kill command. Aiurz gets credit for that one. So another kill.
We've seen that so much from this ice. It's just the Spirit Balls that once she gets a small lead, just start chunking. And that was half of Hayzer's life with one ability. No Numbers going to teleport into this tier 2 tower, trying to defend it, but 5-man siege coming through. Here's the rotation from the rest of Envo Clan. All their ultimates are available.
And there's the taunt onto the double pop. JoJo gets kill onto that one. 11 kills in total for Ebolt as we see the blue team take down a tier 2 tower at 17.5 minutes.
10,000 gold lead, and it's starting to look rough, right? Last game, I think we were like 20 minutes in, we were like 15,000 lead. That's kind of something. No, this is a lead. Look at these items. Four slotted almost everyone on Epiphany Bolt, starting up their 5th items. In addition to that, you just take a look at Envo Clan. They're still trying to finish their 3rd items.
I loved that play right there. So small, but look at that. Athena takes one shot, Neith takes 2 shots, Isis takes 2 shots, and then comes the minion. Nobody tanks for longer than they need to. These small things make a team look very, very clean, and Epiphany Bolt is looking absolutely immaculate.
My favorite part of this is how they're not forcing anything that doesn't need to be forced, right? They'll start at the gold through every once in a while, then pull back. Right now, they're just taking the guaranteed towers, getting that gold lead, spending it.
And at the same time, they're forcing the things they know they can force.
It's phenomenal play coming out from all of them, and some pretty big experience leads as well. 3 levels in the mid lane. A combined, look, what is that, 6 in the duo lane?
Yeah. I mean, really,
Absurd.
what I like about the E-Bolt is what you were talking about before. It's restraint. I have a saying, you know, I say, you want to play your lead, but you can't let the lead play you, right? You're up 10,000 gold. Force that tier 1. Force that tier 2. But at the same time, don't force the Phoenix. And that's exactly what we see Epiphany Bolt doing. There's a single tower left, and we haven't hit 20 minutes. What is going on with this Epiphany Bolt squad?
Silenced, doing a phenomenal job on this Fenrir, finding the players to pick off, and now that he's a little bit more tanky with that bulwark, much harder to burst down. And Envo, a lot of the times, have been investing a lot into him.
Yep. Gotta. I mean, at this point, you really have to invest that much.
Honestly, this Athena doing so much work as well. She got through her early game phase where she has no health because of the CDR build, and now is just finding taunts on cooldown here. No numbers, gonna get chain
screen
out. Actually dies in the middle of his tail whip animation. Doesn't even have a chance to try and charge Prey out.
That screen, that body block was, I love that. I mean, we see it a lot at the high end, right? At the ultra high end, some just really strong body block. This was a fantastic. Both players combined on Epiphany Bolt to just, we are literally a wall. You can walk through us, Sobek. You're going to die.
You can see now Epiphany Bolt still not electing to try and bait Fire Giant. They're going to guarantee this last thing. Blink in a 2-man taunt, and now Fenrir's doing so much damage. The Hunbat's ultimate just trying to stop Epiphany Bolt in their tracks, but it is going to hold for now. And Epiphany Bolt, they get a lot of relics, a lot of ultimates, and they're going to just back off for now.
So Epiphany Bolt have learned and turned, and I love this decision. Epiphany Bolt comes through, and they've got this shell, right? They understand how apt Envo Clan is to reinitiate.
Look at the bait. 2 members rooted out, and now it's iSilenced jumping forward. DeathPanter finds the last hit on Hayzer. Here's Deathwalker in the back, but I mean, no ultimate available. He's not going to be able to finish anyone.
No
Silence credited with the double over the top. Eagles rally just going to miss, but Silence is having none of it. Almost diving a Phoenix at this point.
Yeah, we said be careful, guys. Don't have the Phoenix. If Epiphany Bolt and their fans want to win, they got to play it safe, but they also have to play it as strong as they actually are. 15,000 gold is Epiphany Bolt in comparison to Envo Clan, and all 5 members are here. The minions have taken off the backdoor protections, and this Phoenix will be taken down relatively quickly.
You can see Deathwalker, knowing he can't defend that Phoenix, just electing to split push on the left-hand side, get as much experience as he can. You can see he's working on that Deathbringer, but still not enough gold in hand to finish it. This ice is so much more useful in this game. Last game had a lot of trouble, especially considering it had to have very precarious positioning, facing off against Poseidon's Kraken, but now, without the worry of that and the massive experience lead, you see Aiurz playing so much more confidently in this last game.
Something is to be said about the format of the games as well. Don't forget, so this is an open bracket tournament, and we start the best of 3s in the semifinals, and we continue on to the finals. But up until this point, it's pretty much all just one and done for the games. And these players have been playing for hours. We had over 20 teams show up, so it's a relatively large bracket. So Epiphany Bolt coming in here, you know, they play game number 1 and they win off of a Robin, pretty much, right? They play game number 2, and then Envo Clan shows them, look, we're going to fight into deficits. We're ready to play. And then at some point, Epiphany Bolt looks like a different team right now.
They just look so clean, and fantastic play from them. They've really utilized. They're really good at understanding what their team comp is and playing based around that. The Fenrir, very aggressive early on, always looking to Ragnarok someone out of position. A lot of times the Geb, who didn't have the health built early, once again, going into that CDR build. And he did take a couple spills, but at the very least, every fight that he died in, his team still had the lead. They still got the better end of the team fight, even if he died.
And because of that and their ability to just stick to it is really what's putting Epiphany Bolt where they are right now. Up 15,000 plus, almost 18, almost 20,000 gold. Jeez Louise.
Massive lead. I mean, the Hunbatz directly is behind, I think, 4,000. Hasn't even finished his third item yet. Still trying to get Deathbringer online. And now, Epiphany Bolt going to be sieging up this left-hand side. A three-man taunt once again. iSilenced jumps in, and Deathwalker, he's the first to take a fall. No numbers in the back getting chased down, and Kayla's nowhere to go, buddy. You're going to get body blocked out of this one.
There's a great taunt. JustJack over the top will deal some damage, but unfortunately for Envo Clan, it's just not enough. All 5 members of E-Bolt are here. Down comes the Goomba Stomp out of Athena. They all have Fire Giant, and the Chaos Titan has been taken out. Envo Clan, sit down. Epiphany Bolt, stand up. You're going to the finals.
What a great play coming out from Epiphany. Really utilizing their pick-off team comp to pick players off and then grow the lead. We saw the 10,000 at 17-minute mark. Honestly, for me, I think my favorite thing was their objective control.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All 3 games that we saw, early Gold Furies made sure that the second Envo Clan just had some form of weakness there. If someone backed, if someone got picked off, always utilizing that Ice Assault to make sure and get their gold lead.
And not for nothing, I mean, we mentioned it earlier as well. The Fenrir was really a big part, not just hitting Brutalize and dealing damage, but making sure to be able to use Ragnarok offensively in the right spot, and that's actually how the game started.
He got the first blood on Hayzer there, just a little bit out of position, and I believe at this point we actually saw the jungler for Envo Clan over on the right-hand side trying to make a move. So Epiphany Bolt recognizing exactly what's happening and making sure to put pressure on the duo.
Yeah, I mean that was an extended engagement that, I mean, came out of a teleport. All of these games were just extended engagements the entire time. I mean, in game number 2, if you missed it, watch the VOD. There was a 10-minute Fire Giant fight. And game number 3, Epiphany Bolt decided they were done, and they just had a 10,000 gold lead in about 12 minutes. Player of the game is going to go to iSilenced, the fantastic dog, really coming out on top.
Yep, we saw his first blood, and I think this is kind of the shake and bake camera. I think this is one where he picks up, he finishes off, yeah, and then he's going to shake and bake the Geb, just trying to give him a headache here. Actually jukes out his own members' abilities multiple times.
Just trying to get a little motion sickness on the enemy right there. Jumped over the top, and that's what we saw pretty much the entire time. The stuns, the Ragnarok, everything that
he looked so much more comfortable on this Fenrir than on the Hunbatz, in my opinion. I think he looked much more comfortable. I think he's had a lot of experience on this god, and it showed.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you want to pick things for the better of the composition, and as long as you're not completely terrible at that god, that's a good choice. And it worked a little bit, and then it kind of felt like, look, guys, game number 3, I know what I can do. Let me just do it. And Epiphany Bolt said, fine. And then they took home the win, and they find themselves in the finals against Badger.
And yeah, that's going to be the final game we're actually going to be seeing here in the week 1 of the Open Combine. It's going to be Leftovers taking on Epiphany Bolt. You can see right there, Leftovers winning 2-0 over Clown Fiesta, and Epiphany Bolt a hard-fought battle against Envo Clan.
Yeah, Leftovers have, they're pretty much the favorite, I think, for this week coming into this contest. So we'll take a look at them. Once again, that's Badge's team, previously on Fnatic, and he's picked up Nika, a player that was actually exposed during the Combine. Exposed sounds so negative.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like he's just like got caught.
A player
in
that got
scandal.
he got the spotlight put on him.
That's much better.
During the Combine. So you're going to want to pay attention to these finals. It's the Leftovers versus Epiphany Bolt. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the finals in just a few.